good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. Welcome to the Spiritual Light Show. It's 1st of October 2025, and it's 9 p.m. here in Ireland, the UK, 10 p.m. in France, and it's time for our Spiritual Light. So I want to thank you, everyone who's watching us, who watch us, we stay online with us, and today is a special day because we're going to talk about Allan Kardec. So the topic today it is Allan Kardec, the mission, the man, and the spirit. So as you can see, Silvia is with us today. So let's start with her. Good morning, good evening, my dear. How are you?
Hello, good evening to you, Stevan and Charles, Elsa, and everyone watching us. It's really wonderful to be here with you. Um, I can't be always here, but I really enjoy being here. And today we're going to speak about something very, very special that is about Allan Kardec. And we cannot really, truly understand the immense work that he did and the importance of his work in codifying the Spiritist doctrine. And, we're still studying it, and the more we learn, the less we know, because there's so much more. And it's be a very exciting evening, and welcome everyone. So there we
Thank
are.
you, my dear. Good evening, Elsa. How are you, my dear?
I am okay, very nice indeed, especially today, because as you know, I love Allan Kardec. I follow his rules, his teachings, and that brings the Spiritism into our heart. And especially because one particular word, educator, so many things to learn with this important scientist, rational, methodical person, and devoted to education. That is catch my attention all the time. And each time that I read one of his books, or we study Genesis, as we are doing now, is a difficult book, but full of joy, full of gratitude to Allan Kardec, to the spirits. Today, very special day. And after tomorrow, a special day.
Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Steven. Bonsoir, Elsa. Bonsoir, Silvia. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Indeed, it will be very soon the 221 years of the birth of Allan Kardec. So always we are commemorating because he put the first stone basis of the Spiritist body of knowledge. 100 and almost 170 years ago now, and today there are tens of millions of followers in the world. So we will talk a little bit more about who he is and what was his mission and how did he perform it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. As we said, since we are beginning October, we would like to start this special month with reflections by honoring the life and the mission of Allan Kardec. As Charlie said, he was born in October the 3rd, 1804, and died in 31st March 1869. As educator, thinker, and spiritual mediator, Kardec undertook the monumental task of codifying Spiritism. In this session, we will explore the human, intellectual, and spiritual dimensions of his work, how he prepared himself, how he balances science and faith, and how his inner life shaped the doctrine that continues to guide millions today. And I'd like to start inviting Charles to give us an overview about Kardec. What are the latest findings? Yes, we do have some latest findings from Kardec. So, Charles, if you want to take over, please.
Yes, so indeed, we I mean there are a lot of hidden things that are coming up, popping up along the time. A big bench of documents, original documents, is appeared in 2018. So something like 2,000 documents, which are still being read, analyzed, transcribed, translated. So there is a website which is called Projeto Allan Kardec from the Federal University of Juiz de Fora in Brazil. And little by little, these documents are being inserted on this website, so to have free access for everyone in the world. And in parallel of this, we are also doing a lot of studies, researches in the newspapers and the magazines and the archives from that time. And a lot of complementary information about him and his life have been found. So basically, as you told, he's born the 3rd of October 1804 in Lyon, but he lived in another city, which was Bourg-en-Bresse, between Lyon and Geneva, more or less. And that is where he grew. His father disappeared when he was 3 years old, so he has grown without his father. He was presumed having died in the war that occurred at that time in Spain, between Napoleon and Spain. But in reality, we found this out in the archives. He abandoned his family, the father, and went married with another widow lady, and died in 1840, something like that, or 1835. So he grew up with his mother, with his grandmother, and with his uncle on the side of the mother, and that's the only family he had, because he had two brothers, no, two sisters and one brother, but all of them died very young. He was the only child then of that family. And we know now also that he went in 1815 until 1820 in Switzerland, in the school of Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi. That is where then he got his education, and also how to say, very broad vision, cultural vision, because he was with friends, colleagues from all the countries, all the language, different religions, and so on. And this was also very fundamental for the mission he would develop later. And after this, he went to Paris with his mother and his uncle in 1822. They lived Rue de la 117 Rue de la Harpe, 117 Rue de la Harpe, which was at that time a very long street in Paris, but which has been replaced by the Boulevard Saint-Michel. And his first address in Paris was very close to the Sorbonne. And he really went there to develop a career in the educational field. So he wrote his first book. He was 19 years old, about arithmetics in Pestalozzi method. Then he founded, with 21 years, a primary school. Then it went to secondary school. Then it went also to gymnasium. And this activity in pedagogy was quite successful, and went until 1840 in Paris. He also frequented a lot of societies for history, for statistics, for a lot of for education, also for grammatic. And that is where he knew personally a lot of intellectual people of France in that period. Then he had some more difficult years between 1840 and 1855. He could not continue his education center for several reasons, and he had then to find jobs here and there in order to sustain his family, which was him and his wife. He married 1832 with Amélie Boudet, which was to say living in western part of France, a city called Château du Loir. And that is then when himself is telling it, when you read posthumous works, he started writing the history of Spiritism when in 1854, 1855, he heard talking about moving tables. And he was not believing at the beginning, but then he accepted an invitation from another friend of him, which was a quite serious guy. And that is when he observed the first time the table moving, answering to questions, and so on. He was immediately, he investigated, checked everything. There was no trick, no rope, no lever, no piston, nothing. So he saw immediately, was convinced immediately of the authenticity of the phenomenon, and then he said, "Okay, this is an effect which must have a cause, and since it's an intelligent effect, it must have an intelligent cause." And then from that point he started dedicating his life for his mission, which is the second part of our talk today. So we found a lot of documents of this period of education and after and so on. We should revise a biography of Kardec, but it would be several volumes of 1,000 pages each. We did not yet. There is a Facebook website in Portuguese, yes, called CSI Imagens e Registros do Espiritismo, where you have several hundreds of posts giving all this information. But we really now should compile it somewhere in order to have all this information easily available for every searcher or every person which is interested in knowing a little bit more about him. In the meantime, don't hesitate to contact me. I can give you the answers and the detailed information you would like to have. And then, well, shall I continue, Stevan, or?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah. We are here.
Then
the
you
task
posthumous
is
works,
yours.
there is a part where he's telling the story how it happened. So it's written by him. So that is then when it's quite interesting because he's really indicating how it started all this. He wrote it also in the Spirits book in that he published in 1857. And in several other occasions. But this in posthumous work was really a kind of history that he started to write himself. Unfortunately, he died before publishing it. He died, as you told Stevan, 31st of March 1869. And these papers with this history have been found later on and published in 1889 when it was 100 years of French Revolution, inauguration of the Eiffel Tower, and International Spiritist Congress in Paris in 1889. That was when the posthumous works has been published the first time. And he's quite interesting, telling the story that he did not believe. Then he saw this phenomenon. It was a kind of it was not always very serious, but he took the stuff very serious and he visited, participated to several groups, and then he was selecting one group where they invited him to lead the group, and then he was leading the group in a much more serious. It was not just for fun; it was really for study and for trying to understand and investigate about the cause of this phenomenon. And that is then when he started getting questions, answers, also compiling a lot of questions, answers he received from the other groups. And little by little, he saw that that was building little by little, a full philosophy, which was deduced and also revealed by the communicating spirits and deduced from the phenomena themselves. And that is then gathering all this material, reviewing it again with the spirits, that he, 18th of April 1857, he published the first edition of the Spirits book, which was with 500 questions and answers. He did all that with his own money. He invested by himself. He did not get a lot of help here and there. So he really took it as a mission of his life to do that. Before doing it, he of course had several talks with the spirits. One of the spirits was calling himself as the spirit of truth. He was, how to say, kind of a mentor of Allan Kardec. And he had regular sessions in order to answer to his questions and so on. And one of these talks is quite interesting. It was in 1856. The medium was Allan C. We don't know yet, we did not discover yet who it was, who is this family name starting with C. But it's a very interesting one because he there asked clearly about his mission. He told he asked to the Spirit of Truth, some people are saying that I have a mission to perform. Well, that I'm working, gathering some stuff and helping in discovering all this, I can admit, but a mission I cannot admit. It's too much for me, who I am to have a mission. And the Spirit clearly answered it. I confirm what I told you. You have the mission in order to compile all this and to really build the Spiritist body of knowledge. And he was then a little bit shocked with this confirmation and made several other questions. So you can go and see the details in the book himself. I think Elsa can tell you where you can find this book in English. And he asked, but what can make me fail in this mission? Is it lack of capacity or lack of knowledge? And the Spirit of Truth answered him, no, it's not lack of capacity and lack of knowledge, but such type of missions are very difficult because you will bring something new, which will hurt a lot of other strongly established ideas. It will be a kind of a revolution, a game changer, a disruption, wherever you want to call it. And you will face a lot of opposition from the churches, or the traditional religions, which will face threatened by this, and also from the science, which will also criticize the use of the scientific method to investigate things that they consider as superstitions coming from the churches. And you will then have a lot of problems. A lot of friends will, how to say, they will traidor in English.
Betrayer.
Betray.
They will betray you, and your best friends will move out and so on, and that will be the difficult. And you rather stay, don't claim it too high, stay confidential, publish your books, and take it with the highest possible degree of humility, because you will face a lot of difficulties, a lot of headache, and this will shorten your life because you would live much longer without this mission. And at the end, he told, okay, I'm conscient of what you told me, but I buy it, I will do it. But under one condition, you have to help me and to assist me all along this mission, and also help me in solving some material difficulties he was having, more basically income. And the Spirit of Truth told him, don't worry, we will take care of this. And then this is how the mission really started. And he did it, because indeed, I always say, Spiritist body of knowledge is a revolution. Why? Because it's investigating subjects of the soul, where does it come from, where does it goes to, and so on, of God, and all these basic philosophical questions, which were, how to say, a private domain of the churches and their dogmas. But he was investigating those subjects in a philosophical view and with a scientific method. So deducing all this philosophy out of the facts he was observing. So he was basically using the scientific method that he took from the science, positive method as it was called at that time. It was Descartes, some a century before, and then Auguste Comte with the positivism. So he really took the method of science and applied it to a subject which was a private domain of the religions, and with a dogmatic approach, an approach which is totally opposite to the scientific approach. And from the religions, he also took only the moral teachings. He did not take the dogmas, exclusivism, will of hegemony, all these bad sides of the religions, he left them aside. So he took the best of the religions, the best of science, and put them together in something which is new, which he called Spiritism. So Spiritism is not a religion. Spiritism is also not a science. It's just the combination of the best aspects of science and of religion. So it is something new. And this is why it is so difficult to understand even today, 170 years later, because the people want, no, it is a religion. The people, even the academic people, want to categorize Spiritism into the existing pattern, existing concepts. And it's something new, it's a disruption. So it does not fit in all the existing concepts. So that's why I claim it's a revolution, it's really a disruption, something new, and still today not yet fully recognized as that, as such. And the same is the role of Kardec there. Of course, he got a lot of answers from the spirits. The spirits book, he made a lot of most of the questions, but the answers came from the spirits. So it is not his personal ideas, including his sayings that on some subject, like for instance reincarnation, he was of a different opinion. But when he asked to the spirits and the spirit told him that, and then he was digging and digging and digging, trying to understand where are the evidences, is it consistent, and so on. So he found this concept of reincarnation so consistent and solving so many problems and questions, and with so strong arguments and evidences that he ended up accepting it. And you see, at that time, there was not yet, he did not yet have the works done by Ian Stevenson in between 1960 and his death, which was 2007, if I remember well, bringing a lot of more evidences, even birthmarks and a lot of things like that, So he was convinced by the rational, the consistency of the whole philosophy which is coming out of the observation, who again started with the turning tables, and which ended up then building a whole life philosophy, spiritualist, of course, which is until today, I do not find any inconsistency in the Spiritist philosophy. I don't find, even from a philosophical, rational, and even from an ethical or a moral point of view, it's really a set which is absolutely consistent. And that is also one characteristic of today. A lot of people, Lynn Sharp, several writing in English, they studied how it happened and so on, how it came, who was the role of the spirit, who were the mediums, and what was the historical context of that time. But nobody really dig in depth in the Spiritist philosophy, because I'm still waiting someone telling me, okay, the Spiritist philosophy is wrong or is not precise enough or is inconsistent in this and that part. I did not see this yet after 40 years of studies and investigation in Spiritism. And what I see is most of the scientists, anthropologists and others, sociologists who studied Spiritism, they did not study the Spiritist philosophy. They studied only the external aspects around it, how it came, and so on. Because so far, all the people I know who studied the Spiritist philosophy ended up, they studied, let's say, seriously, without preconceived ideas, without strong opposite ideas like religious idea or like materialist strong ideas, with open mind. They ended up adhering to it because this philosophy is absolutely consistent, comprehensive. It does not answer to all the questions. You have sometimes some spiritists who say, no, spiritists answer to all the questions. That's not true, and it would be really pretentious to tell that. There are a lot of points that the spirits themselves said, look, we don't know, so we cannot explain to you. Or some other point where they say, you do not have yet the understanding, the capacities to understand this, so we cannot answer it to you. You have not the vocabulary, you have not the word, you have not the concepts, and so on. And we must stay humble to know this, that there is still way to go and several points to get more in depth. And even Kardec said, wrote clearly, if science is there is how to say a concordance that spiritism is wrong in one or the other point, spiritism will then follow, not opinions. I think it's not like this, but it's like that. Okay, this is a personal opinion, but it's one thing. So everyone is totally free to have his own opinion. But when something is really demonstrated to be imprecise or incorrect in the spiritist body of knowledge, if there is a real demonstration accepted by the majority of the people and the researchers, then of course spiritism will evolve, progress, and adapt to this. So even this criteria of falsifiability, which is from the modern epistemology that appeared only 1 century later, Kardec was already applying in 1860 when he was elaborating all this work and performing his mission. But now I want to stop a little bit and let also our dear Silvia and Elsa to comment and to complement it.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Very good overview and information given by Allan Kardec. And this
Can I
Silvia came
barge
across
in?
a yeah,
Sorry,
sorry?
can I barge in just a bit? May I barge in for a bit?
Yeah,
But something that Charles was saying, I just like to make a point. Is it all right?
yeah, sure, sure.
No, it's. I think that's the point you made of what Kardec said about spiritism. If ever science would discover things that would deny what was in the spirit's book, they should leave the book and follow science. And I think so far it hasn't happened. Because really, I think there is a lot in science that has not get to the point that there is made in the spirit's book, isn't it? Because there are so many explanations of things, and I said about the that we didn't have the language to understand, and I keep thinking about the question when the spirits explain that we have a primitive fluid, a secondary fluid, and everything that's material is actually comes from the secondary fluid, as they explain in the Spirit's book. And only now we're beginning to have that explanation for the cosmic fluid, the energy, the dark energy, and everything. So it's already in the Spirit's book 106 all the years ago. And only now science is catching up. And I think there is a lot more to discover. So I think it was an incredible thing that Kardec knew how advanced the Spirit's book, uh, the teachings were then, and I think there is still a lot more to discover. And I think as science, material science progresses and understanding and everything, then we begin to truly understand the Spirit's book. So I just want to make a point because
It's
that is
true,
very
Silvia. Yes.
important.
Science has progressed a lot. There was Einstein, relativity, and quantum mechanics, and a lot of progress in science. But none of this is contradicting what has been established. At the opposite, as Silvia told, it's even it was not clearly stated in the Spiritist body of knowledge, but what has been discovered is just confirming and even giving more details, explaining better in detail what was already anticipated in a certain way in the
The Spirit's
Spirit's book
book.
or in the other books.
And another question as well that now is very relevant to us now. We can understand this now, but I'm sure the people at the time could not understand at all. When Kardec asked the spirits, is there vacuum in space? And the answer was no. There is a fluid that you cannot perceive. And now we know that, the universe is not a vacuum. There is all this energy floating around, neutrinos and all sorts of things. So I think, we, I think science as it advances is catching up what is taught in the Spirit's book. And there is lots more, because every time you read something, you learn something new. And I think that's one of the things that I find personally so important on relation to spirits, is because every time you read, every time you study, you see something else, isn't it? Even questions that you've read a few times and you seem to know, you say, oh gosh, I hadn't thought of that thing yet. It's constantly surprising you and bring you new knowledge. I personally find it fascinating. And so the work that Kardec brought, it's we cannot really truly understand the work that man did in putting together the Spiritist doctrine, the 5 books and all the Spiritist magazines as well. That it was such a large body of work as well as a theoretical work, and that we can put into practice now in reading that. It's it was about like 10 years, wasn't it? About 10 to 12 years that he did all that work. It's just unimaginable, the effort that went into that. So, he was an exceptional human being, a spirit of great light, and we are so grateful, and we owe him so much. I think,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what my contribution.
Basically, from the Spiritist body of knowledge, there are two things. First thing, we have a soul. Science did not yet discover the soul. For science, is following mostly a materialist paradigm, saying that what we call the soul is the produce of our brain. And the
Yes.
Spiritist body of knowledge says, no, our brain is just the transmitter of the soul, like a radio is transmitting something which has been recorded in a studio by living people and so on. And the radio is not the living people, And the Spiritist body of knowledge is exactly saying this. The brain is only the transmitter. And the second thing, as Silvia told, Spiritist body of knowledge is saying that the matter does not exist only in the form we know from in the physics and chemical and so on, Mendeleev table, the particle table, and so on. It exists also in other forms which are not measurable, tangible, which are not perceivable by us in the normal state, but which is a reality for the spirits. And it's a kind of a condensation of this matter which exists in the spiritual world, which gives the matter we know from hydrogens to uranium and from electron to in the particles. So those two basic things have been anticipated or confirmed because these ideas of spiritualist ideas are coming from the antiquity. Huh? Kardec was by, and he never claimed to be the first one saying that. Huh? He was always recognizing, you see, it existed already from Pythagoras, from Plato, Socrates, whatever. I mean, and also in never in different cultures. Huh? But he really brought it in a rational way, which today can sometimes seem a little bit outdated, old-fashioned, because of course it was in the middle of the 19th century. Today, sometimes we use other words, other concepts. For instance, Kardec was using the concepts of science at that time. And at that time, the science was admitting that there are existing superior races and inferior races. So the science itself was racist, you know. And Kardec already brought the argument saying, hey, stop, I asked to the spirits. The same spirits are incarnating in black, yellow, red, white people everywhere. So from the spirit point of view, there is absolutely no grounding for any type of discrimination, even between man and woman, you know. It's the same spirit can be masculine or feminine. So discrimination from the woman is also was banned or not banned, but there was a strong argument against it, and that is why Spiritism has contributed to dampen the racism, and also has contributed to the feminist cause. So there
Another
are a
thing
lot
I
of
think,
things like this
sorry.
which were quite new and disrupting compared with the habits of that time. Of course, today, if we would rewrite the Spiritist philosophy, we would use other words. There is also a bias because France was during centuries Catholic and the only mandatory and allowed religion. So all this, of course, influenced a little bit the form of the books of Kardec himself, of the way the spirits, also influenced by this culture, were expressing themselves. Today, we would use different words. This is why I call always all of you, if you read the Kardec's book, think it has been written 150 years ago. Go and seek the idea which is in it, and don't always take the form too literally, because you have to how to say to make the transformation of the form from that time 170 years ago and today.
But another thing as well, you said the question of the soul. I mean, now there is a lot of research being done, and they have already published papers, many scientists, that consciousness is actually outside of the brain.
Yes.
So the concept of the soul now scientifically, they have a lots of papers and say, oh no, consciousness is not created in the brain, is outside of the brain. So the idea of the soul being as an entity in itself, it's very much now being accepted in scientific realms. And I think the more science develops, the more things will be understood. I think that there is a question, right, about how the scientists in the 19th century saw many
Yeah,
things,
but
and
but
the
but,
Spirit
but
book,
yeah, but
they reflect a bit.
yeah,
Sorry.
there is a question for Pat K, and it's very interesting because we already made a specific live to talk about Amelie, but Pat K say I've heard about Kardec's wife, but don't know how much about her. Was she supportive towards his studies around spiritism? Did she get involved in studies too? Despite all these problems, he persisted. I used to wrongly believe that it was religion as well. Thank you for clarifying this. So I
Yes.
think you are the
So
best person to say, both of you.
Definitively,
mean,
yes. I mean, these missionaries, either they come, they don't marry, or when they marry with someone which is sharing the mission. This is not by chance. And really, Amelie was of constantly helping and supporting and sharing and taking care of the administrative stuff and so on, replacing him when he was traveling. So she was always, always, always behind him, and he always asked her opinion. Kardec was sometimes a little bit too good, and Amelie was up, take care, this, there, and so on. And it was really a joint effort. Of course, she did not have the same, how to say, capacity and so on as him in terms of writing and so on. She did not write a book on Spiritism, for instance, but she supported him in his task in a very precious way. And also, when he faced the difficulties, as we told, being betrayed, being criticized, being really. He was not imprisoned, but it was by little. And she was always, always, always with him. And this has been recognized by a lot of people who knew them, very attentive one to the other constantly. And it appears also very clearly in all these letters they exchanged, which appeared now and which are being put in this internet website, as I indicated at the beginning. So definitively, yes. So she was involved in the studies too. I think she participated in the meetings of the society, Paris, Spiritist Studies Societies of Paris. And then when Pat says, I used to wrongly believe that it was a religion as well. Yes, so depending how what you understand as religion. The common understanding of religion is traditional religion with dogmas, with how to say hierarchy, sacerdotal hierarchy, with willing to control exclusivism. Out of Catholicism, there is no salvation. This is how with rituals and whatever. So this is the common understanding of religion, but Spiritism body of knowledge has absolutely nothing of this. If now you, like 1% of the people, understand the word religion in the philosophical way, for instance, seeking the relationship with God or relating the people together and whatever, that is then where Spiritism is more likely a religion in that sense. But the common understanding, it's absolutely not a religion. I would even say to present the Spiritism as a religion is absolutely counterproductive. It is not. Kardec explained it very well. In Brazil, it may be considered. In Brazil, the Spiritism movement has a religious bias. But in Europe or in several other countries, even in the youth in Brazil, it's being less and less accepted because it really has, as I told at the beginning, it's a disruption with this traditional concept of religion. So to present it as a religion, you just push it back down, and no, it's something different. It's something new, which differs from religion. It's also not a science in the strict, when you understand science as being materialist, atheist. No, then if these notions are embedded in science, Spiritism is also not a science. It uses a scientific method, which is different.
But he make a bridge between science, philosophy, and morality. Yeah? That was the importance of he.
There is a statement of Leon Denis, which is more or less, which is okay, saying Spiritism is not the religion of the future, it's the future of the religions. So the concept is changing. We are going from heteronomy to autonomy, isn't it, Stephen? The religious,
Uh-uh.
traditional religions are heteronomous. You must believe even if you don't understand, because it's written, because I tell you if it's like this. And then comes a threat as well. If you don't do this, you go to hell. If you want to go to paradise, you have to do this and to accept it. Spiritism is absolutely not like that. It's bringing the teachings, explaining everything, and leaving everyone free to accept it or not. Everyone has a free will. The free will, the law of liberty, is the fundamental law of the Spiritist philosophy. So the Spiritism is fundamentally autonomous, which is totally the opposite of this heteronomous approach of the traditional religions. That is so. It cannot be assimilated in no way.
Charles, yesterday I asked my Alexa, Alexa, who is Allan Kardec? And Alexa answered me. It was very, very interesting. A machine talk about Kardec. And now we have it in ChatGPT. I asked it today, tell me about the mission of Kardec, but in short words, in short paragraph, not too big, because otherwise, please write a lot. And I was impressed the way that the IA really knows all, feeding the machine.
Yes.
This AI with the information.
Elsa, it's also thanks to us, because since Spiritism is disinterested with no profit most of the times, we put all the information, the Kardec's book and whatever, free on internet. So we provide IA with data, and then of course IA is taking the data which is available and bringing it back, answering to the question he gets. That is how IA works. It works with the data you provide them, and we provide all the data for free to anyone.
We know, Charles, but when things happen, you are alone, and you ask to the small machine by chance, and the machine starts answering you. You are alone. It's like a voice. It's someone talking about Kardec. Here, you know that machine. You know that it's artificial intelligence, but it's really something that I was smiling on my own. I was laughing, of course, of joy, né? But interesting, very much. People that has Alexa in your homes, ask Alexa about Allan Kardec.
And then I can also maybe answer to the question of Juana. She's saying science and religion were teaching the same thing in different ways, and it was time for both to unite. Kardec did never really try to unite religion and science. Like oil and how do you say vinagre in English?
Vinegar.
Oil and vinegar.
Vinegar.
You cannot mix fully, and it would have been a loss of time. You could try, but it's some extreme position. You very difficultly find a common understanding. And this is why he did it differently, in order to, instead of losing time to try to even accommodate them in trying to make them talk one to the other, he took the best of the one, the best of the second, and did something new. And
Actually,
if we would do this, if our leaders would do this, take the best idea of this party, the best idea of that party, and put all this together for the benefit of the population, it would be good, isn't it? And this is exactly what Kardec did.
actually, there is a quotation by Chico Xavier that once he talked to Dr. Marlene Nobri about it, and he said that religion comes and breaks the path, and science comes afterwards and paves the road. And I think is a very interesting thing, because I think they became was divided because the church needed to control people, and so they separated. But the greatest scientists, they were all religious people. They believed in God, Newton and so many others. And it wasn't any difficulty for them to accept that God existed, and the scientific things that they found, and we know that everything's a natural law that was created by God. So eventually there is no this religion, this is science, but everything's going to be discovered as part of the universe that was created by God, and everything that exists is part of that creation, of the intelligence principle of the universe. And there will be all this, this division will end, because it was very specific why there was a change. Because in the ancient worlds there was no difference at all. Oh, this is science, and the same scientists, that they were discovering things, they were philosophers, and they had their belief in the gods and in God and everything. So it was a very specific time. I think it started mostly, I think, in the Nicaea Council, that the separation of the church and religion, because people started finding that they wanted to have power and control people by fear and all that. So eventually this will clear up, and it'll be just one thing, part of the natural laws and the acceptance that everything is created by the intelligence of the universe. And looking forward to that, because then I think morally, once a lot of wars, a lot of weapons, a lot of this madness that exists in our world will end, because people will see that it's just one, that we are all in the same level, and the ambition and desire for power and all that will go, because all this hatred, all this situation that we're seeing in the world now is part of man being very ignorant and holding on to power that will only last as long as their life lasts, and their lives is very short. All that power will go, will disappear as soon as they close their eyes, and they will, because that's the only fatality that really exists, that you were born and you're going to die. So I think this understand, when it actually comes, it will be the end of all hatred and anger and desire for power and domination, isn't it? That's what I think.
Yeah. We have only 4 minutes left, but I don't want to leave any question behind. We have a question here, Charles, from Bride Rack. The question is, what happened when Kardec saw his books being burned in Barcelona?
Yeah. So Bridal Rack is Sila. So Kardec was, of course, shocked by this attitude from the Middle Age, even in 1860 or 1861. I think it's 1860 or even
1861.
1862 or 61.
1861, yes. 9 of October, actually. 9 of October.
He asked the spirits, "What should I do?" And the spirits answered him, "Let it be. This is the best advertisement you can imagine." And in fact, after this auto-da-fé, Spiritist ideas were really widely spread, and Spain was one of the strongest and quickest developing the Spiritist ideas in that period. And by the way, the first International Spiritist Congress was in Barcelona, 1888. So today it's still true. There are some people criticizing us and saying all bad things about us. And when we do, for instance, a lecture like this, and they go and criticize it, all of a sudden we get thousands of visualization. So they are still advertising, and the people commenting then and say, "Oh, what you are telling me is obviously wrong or misleading or false." So in fact, the critics are sometimes helping for disseminating the ideas. And maybe just quickly to Roanna, a doctrine is a set of principles which are shared by a community, certain persons, So doctrine is a word which is neutral in his meaning, but it's a lot of times misunderstood because of another word, which is indoctrination. And indoctrination is brainwashing. But when we talk about doctrine, doctrine has nothing to see with brainwashing, you know. But we prefer the word philosophy or body of knowledge because it has not this, how to say, misunderstanding like the word doctrine.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because that in the burning of this first book in Barcelona was the last ever act of faith, as part of the index of prohibitorum of the books and everything. Um, and it was very interesting, as you said, it was such an advancement that everyone wanted to see what was in that book, that they were burning in public because it was in a public square. Was a very medieval thing, the burning of the books in a public square. And everyone said, what is in this book? We needed to read this. And people passing, buying and passing the books to each other because they were fascinated. What is it that they want not to? And that's part of the human nature, isn't it? Curiosity. The more things are prohibited, the more they want to find out what it is. So he couldn't have made a better advertisement for spiritism than trying to destroy the book. And it's never,
Silvia,
I remember someone saying that
yeah.
spiritism was created by the desire of God and will never end, never going to be destroyed, because you cut one branch, three will born, you cut three, six will born, because it's by the desire of God that spiritism has come to the world for us. So it will never, ever be destroyed by anyone, which I think is wonderful.
And this is also why Spiritism appeared in the middle of the 19th century. If it would have appeared 1 century before, maybe Kardec would have been burned as well.
Yeah.
You know, so the humanity was not ready for such new ideas before, huh? And so you see how everything has been organized by the spiritual world to bring this mission using the capacity of Allan Kardec, and he really did not fail. He really made this mission until the end, and that's why we are still here today talking about him.
Yeah, and I personally think that we are very blessed, very, very
Oh,
blessed
yes. Yes.
to
Yes.
have the spiritism, isn't it? I remember the first time I saw the spirits book, and I look at the table of contents, and I couldn't believe it. I said, oh my God, I felt I came home. Every question that ever had was there, was an answer. It's a book that answers all the questions that you have. And if anybody out there never read the Spirit's book, just intellectual curiosity, don't think about anything else. You will find a lot of almost, no, all the answers that you ever ask. Why are we here? What is the mission? What's the purpose of life? Why do we suffer? Everything, absolutely everything is answered in the Spirit's book. I find this a blessing.
Yes. So, unfortunately, we need to go.
There you go.
Uh, it was wonderful to listen both of you. Me and Elsa today was more kind of just watching the show,
Sorry.
but it was
Sorry, I
good.
barged in too much.
No, no, no. That's why you were here. That's why we asked Charles to take over. Just let me show you guys uh
So I
before I
hope we gave you the we incentivate you a little bit, or we gave you the
Look at
will
my dog.
to read some books of him because it's really worthwhile.
it is. It is. Uh,
Look at my dog.
Ai, que bonitinho.
okay.
I
Okay.
have a dog.
Look, so I'm as you can see, this picture of Kardec is a recent picture, isn't it, Charlie? You got recently
I,
from the
It's an old pictures, but which appeared recently, yes. And in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
last
yeah.
two pictures, of course, not completely different, but two pictures that we didn't know popped up. So it's unbelievable what all these things which are coming, and it's a will, I think, also the spiritual world. They put us on the track to discover such things.
Yeah, and here it is a painting with Kardec and Amelie.
Collaborating together, huh?
Yes, yes, yes.
But
There's a
this is a
lady,
very specific. Oh, sorry, Elsa, please go on.
was telling
It's a
about the
very
big.
specific thing, isn't it? Sorry.
No
Silvia.
problem.
Okay,
No.
so let's go to our announcements here. And this Sunday, 5th of October, our friend Munir Gariba, he will give his talk regarding to Ernesto Bozano, and his topic is primitive people and paranormal manifestations. Quite interesting topic. It's 7 p.m. London time. Next week, we have Dana Sisi with us, and we're going to talk about the 5 books of Spiritist codification, a map for spiritual growth. And Silvia, you are more than welcome to join us next week if you have time.
I will if I
Yeah,
don't have to do the other thing. Yes.
thank you. So every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. London time, we do have the Mediums book study with Charles, Monir, and Guilherme. Please keep reading Spiritist magazine. It's free of charge. You can just go to the website you see in front of you, and you can download. You can have your PDF copy. It's wonderful topics, and is a wonderful work done by our team in the US. So also, we do have, if you are in the UK, just go to the Buzz website, buzz.org.uk. There you can find a list of spirit center probably close to your home. Also in Ireland, we do have the Irish Spiritist Federation. Sundays here is every Sunday. The meetings here are every Sunday at 11 o'clock. And more information about the Spiritist Francophone movement, go to lmsf.org and you will have the same details there. And keep listening Kardec Radio. Thank you, Kardec Radio, for the time. Thank you for the opportunity to be here all those years. And thank you, Charles, for the wonderful talk about Kardec. Silvia, about your inputs, especially about Amelie, and Elsa for your help with questions, help with supporting with the dissemination of this live. Thank you so much, everyone. I wish you all a wonderful week, rest of your week. Stay close, and we will see you next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bless you all.
Good night, everyone. God bless you all.